Okay, looks like I'm live. Fantastic. And we'll just wait for some more people to come on board. The chat is ready. And at the moment, there's nobody there. Just us crickets. Oh, we've got three. Oh, here we are. Brendan's here. Hello, Brendan. How are you? I'll just turn that down a little bit. And Kim's here. Hello, Kim. How are you? Good to see you online. We'll wait a little bit longer to see how many more people turn up before we kick off. Fantastic. We've got 5 people on board now. Fantastic. And okay, the notification's gone out, so I would expect there'll be more going on. Yes, Kim, you are. Wayne, how are you? Good to see you online. Get rid of that music now. There we go. Okay, well, it looks like there's just the 4 of us. So let's kick off the show, shall we? I've got a brand new intro. Well, g'day, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. And there we are. So, who wants to start off with the questions? Has anybody got any to start with? So let's go. Yes, g'day, Brendan. What's my opinion on the optimal point to add the calcium chloride to the milk? Some say add it the day before, some say before you heat the milk, still others say when the milk is at temperature. Does it matter? Good question, Brendan. Look, when I first started off, I used to add the calcium chloride before I heated the milk up. I've never added it the day before. I've never done that at all. I have also, well, recently I've switched to adding it just before the rennet. So as long as it's added before the rennet. The soluble calcium that it adds back into the milk just adds body back to the curds. So really, as long as you add it before the rennet, I don't think there's any temperature or anything like that. It's just a salt. So it's a calcium salt. So I don't think there'll be any issues with any time you add it, as long as it's before you add the rennet. So hopefully that answers your question, Brendan. Has anybody got any else? Any others? I'm sure Kim's got a question. Cheesy Shropshire Blue is not from Shropshire. It's made in Derbyshire, Leicestershire, and Nottinghamshire. That I've actually found a recipe book that has a lot of old English cheese recipes in it. So I'm going to start making some of those because not only, well, I've made cheddar and I've made a few other English cheeses like Wensleydale and that sort of thing. So as the weeks progress and I start making the cheese kits from these Mad Millie ones here that I've talked about in the the unboxing videos, I'm also going to start spending some time making some of those hard English cheeses. Okay, Brendan's got another question. Thanks for supporting the show so far, Brendan. When salting brie camembert, which method is the best? Sprinkling salt on the outside or soaking in brine? Or is it a case of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other? I've tried both ways, Brendan, and the most successful method I've had is brining. Brining the camembert seems to give an even salt coverage and therefore prepares the surface for the Penicillium candidum to grow all over. And I really have not had any issues when I've salted it via brining. I think the traditional method is to rub salt all over it, but I found that was a bit hit and miss. How long do I brine? I think it was about 3 hours because they're quite small. They absorb a lot of salt otherwise. So I think it was 3 hours. In fact, there's a video, Kim, where I did a little bear. I think that's what I called it, where I brined the camembert. So if you can put the link up to that, darling, then that would be lovely, and Brendan can check that out. Another cheesy fact by Kim: Cheshire is thought to be the oldest British cheese. It's even mentioned in the Doomsday Book, commissioned by William the Conqueror in 1085. And also another little known fact is the Doomsday Book was actually just a census. It's a census of his conquest, all the people that live there, basically. Wayne's asked, when making feta, once the cheese is fermented in brine, do I need to check the pH regularly? I tend not to. As long as you've checked the pH at the start, it doesn't actually change very much at all in the process. Your cheese will stay firm and it won't leach. It won't go all soggy. So that's what happened. The very first feta I ever made, I didn't know about this pH balancing thing. I made a light brine, about probably less than 10%, which is not recommended really. But the 10% brine, and I didn't add any vinegar, any calcium chloride to it, so I didn't balance the pH to about 5.3. Okay, Brendan has asked another question. This is a big one. Sorry, Gavin, this question needs to span across a number of messages since there's 200 characters. Hopefully they will come through after another, as you can read as one question. In your videos, you mentioned when stirring cultures, calcium chloride and natto rennet, be careful not to aerate it. The supermarket I get has large quantities of cream on top. When trying to recombine the cream, the milk often necessitates vigorous agitation at the start of the cheese making process, such as shaking the bottle or whisk, which results in air bubbles in the milk, which eventually subsides. What cheese making problems, if any, can be expected as a result of initial aerating the milk in this way when trying to dissolve the cream? Or does that do absolutely no harm to the milk? Funny you should say that. I've got a story for you, Brendan. Little Bert, Kim. When I lived on the dairy farm as a kid, we used to have this big vat that the day's milking went into, and the pipe used to go into the milk, and it used to create lots of bubbles. And they did go on in the factory to make yogurt, cheese, and all that sort of stuff. So the milk had been slightly aerated anyway. You come across a similar situation that I have myself, is that when you get creamline milk and it's a little bit older than it should be, the cream is solid, so you have to whisk it into the milk. Now, I do that. I have no problems at all, and therefore the cheeses that I have don't have any issues. So, look, I don't think it does any harm at all to the milk. Maybe with raw milk, but I tend to use pasteurised, unhomogenised. But back in the days when I lived on the dairy farm, the milk was raw anyway, so there was no issues there in aerating. Thanks for your question, Brendan. Hopefully that answered it. Mickey D has jumped in. Hi, Mick. Gavin, having trouble finding the thermostat timer for the bar fridge. Did you get yours off eBay? Mick, drop me an email. I've got some for sale still. They're just not on the website. Shoot through an email and we'll fix that up for you. Yes, that's it. Kim, thanks for the link. Little bear. Oh, Ice Hockey Gaming. Hi, how are you? And Chamois, how do you say that? Chamois. Hi, Gavin. I'm totally new to cheese business. Maybe you've already answered this question, but in your opinion, what's the best type of cheese to begin with? I did a whole video segment, Ask the Cheeseman, on beginners' cheeses that you should try in order, going from the easiest all the way to the most difficult, and all without a cheese fridge. So, Kim, if you can pull up the link to that video, I think it went something like ricotta, paneer, quick mozzarella, maybe halloumi, feta, and then onto some of the harder cheeses like Bel Paese, which is a very nice Italian cheese. But Kim put the video link as soon as she finds it. No problems, Mick. Brendan has lots of questions. I've found my hard homemade cheese has a tendency to grow mold such as P. Roquefort, Camembert, but store cheese doesn't. Do they add something to the store-bought cheese to inhibit this growth, or are these infections simply a result of being a home cheese making, have those bacteria in the house? Yeah, the commercial factories tend to over-sanitize everything. So if there are any P. Roquefort or P. Camembert molds in the factory, they've killed them off. Unfortunately, we as home cheese makers have those molds lurking in the cheese fridge. Doesn't matter how much we scrub it, and sometimes even in the ripening containers that we use. So they have a tendency to grow those molds, whether we like them or not. I think, Brendan, you being a fairly seasoned cheesemaker now, mate, that salt and vinegar usually gets rid of all of that sort of mold growth on any of your hard cheeses. Okay, Kitty Cats. Hello, Wendy. How are you? Evening all, hands around platter. Yeah, that would be great if there was a platter of cheese. We could share virtually with everybody. That would be very cool. Yes, Kim, that's the one I was talking about. So hopefully, Chamois, that's the link. Go and check that video out when you get a chance. I'd click on it now because at the end of the video, the chat disappears. So don't wait to click on the link now. Okay, so don't forget that if you want to not show your appreciation, but if you want to have it, how do I start this? Very hard to ask for this sort of stuff, but to keep the cheese channel going, and there's all obviously costs and all that sort of stuff. So if you wanted to ask a question or just donate a single donation, there's the super chat button, little dollar sign down there, little as $2, and your question gets highlighted for everybody to see. That's only one of many ways to pledge support for the channel. There's another version is via Patreon, but we'll talk a bit about that near the end. Okay, we've got a few more people on board. We've got Angry Skeleton Corn Man. Hey, Gavin, you ever tried Oka cheese from Quebec, and what are your thoughts on it? Unfortunately, they don't ship Oka, which is a Trappist cheese. It's a washed rind cheese that's washed with Brevibacterium lineans, which is the orange mold. It goes soft in the middle. It smells a bit, but it actually, from what I've heard, tastes fantastic. If it's anything like Tilsit, which I think it's a replica of Trappist cheese, it would taste absolutely fantastic, which it does. Just hold your nose sometimes when you taste it. But that's my thoughts on Oka. It's a very nice cheese indeed. Santiago from Hong Kong. Santiago actually shared with me once, and this is not breaching privacy or anything, that he's probably the highest in altitude cheesemaker in all of Hong Kong. because he lives in an apartment block and makes his cheese up there. So yes, Santiago, thank you for thinking of us in the far eastern China. No problems at all, mate. That's why I do a second show, because a lot of Aussies don't get out of bed, or they're on the train commuting or what have you, going to work, when I do the 7:30 show. Even though a fair bit of the audience is from the Americas, I try to cater for a global audience, which is one of the main reasons I put in to all my recipes imperial and or US imperial and metric, and that certainly helps everybody. Isocket Gaming, I'm still waiting for edible 3D printing to get really good. Then we could pass around the cheese. Yeah, we could pass around a program and it'll make it for us. That'd be very cool. TZ Advantage. Here in Thailand, I have two sources of milk, straight from the farm or as bulk milk powder, 4%. Any experience with that you can share? Raw steak, go straight from the farm. Don't even do the powdered milk. You won't get much of a curd set. There are ways to get, you can make a good yogurt out of powdered milk, but I wouldn't make much else. Go for the straight from the farm, and if you have any worries about the milk quality, then just do a method of pasteurization called low temperature long hold. And I think it's take it to 67 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes and keep it there, and then chill it down to 4 degrees Celsius. So that'll kill most of the pathogens, except some of the good lactic bacteria that we need for cheese making. You'll get a lot more flavour in your cheese. So go for the raw milk and pasteurize it if you feel the need for it. Okay. I'm going to sign off. Thanks, Santiago, for popping in. You'll be able to catch the show later anyway, mate. And Angry Skeleton Corn, I've noticed that a lot of good cheeses are a little bit smelly, but they sure taste good. Certainly do. Oh, 60th floor, Santiago. My goodness, overlooking Hong Kong Harbour. That's fantastic. But yeah, you've been making some fantastic cheeses from the emails that we've been sharing. Okay. I think that's, have I missed any questions here? No, that's it. Cheesy facts. Each spring, locals from Stilton in Peterborough have a race of rolling giant wheels of Stilton down the hill. Yes, I remember that. That was pretty cool. I've actually seen videos. In fact, people get bowled over by these massive wheels of Stilton as they come down the hill. Pretty good tradition. Kim has another cheesy fact. In 1987, a 1,400-year-old piece of cheese was unearthed in the Tipperary Bog and Island. It was still edible. I wonder who the brave person was that the brave person that was the first one to even try and eat the cheese. Or if they did, or just whether they put it under a microscope or something like that. That would have been pretty cool. Does raw milk need any other preparations to work with the standard recipes? Good question. Yeah, most of my recipes all say add calcium chloride. With raw milk, you don't need to. It will set a very firm curd. In fact, you could probably use 10% less rennet than is in the recipes that I have. So try it first with the full amount of rennet. I use 200 IMCU liquid rennet. If your rennet's a bit stronger, then take it back a little bit as well anyway. But that's the only things you need to change. Don't need any calcium chloride and a little bit less rennet. Brendan, I wonder why it is that really smelly cheese tastes so good, which is against our natural instincts. Yeah, it's a weird one. That bacteria, Brevibacteria linens, is also, this is a cheesy fact for you, is also the same bacteria that lives between our toes. So I'm thinking that some monk back in France, where they first invented Trappist cheeses, these red rind cheeses, red washed rind, accidentally dropped their smelly socks into the vat of milk, And when the cheese came out, I reckon there must have been, and as it matured, there would have been stinky, that smell, and the bacteria infected the milk, and they got this orange rind, and they tried to wipe it off, and it wouldn't wipe off, it stayed there. So that's how I reckon, this is Gavin's theory, maybe a conspiracy theory, but that's how I reckon the Trappist monks invented the Brevibacterium washed rind cheeses. Anyway, um, Angry Skeleton Corn Man. I've seen some people break their legs chasing those wheels down the hill. Yeah, they certainly do. Kim, another cheesy fact. Henry II declared cheddar to be the best cheese in Britain. Well, I would probably agree with him, but he's dead. But yeah, cheddar is very nice. There are lots of other good cheeses in Britain now, or the United Kingdom, and they're actually having a bit of an artisan cheese revival, because during World War II, one of the things that happened is that the Ministry of Food actually stopped production of most of the artisan cheesemakers in the UK because they were trying to use the milk to make one standard wartime cheese. And after that, a lot of dairies closed down. And after the war, World War II, it took a lot of the cheesemakers went to the war and died, and when they came back, they needed to be repatriated if they were alive. But they didn't start cheese making again, so a lot of those traditions were lost. So it's only recently, in the last 20 years, that they're starting to revive the artisan cheese making scene back there in Britain. Here in Australia, we really didn't have an artisan cheese making scene. It's only really started to pick up in the last 20 years here as well. Okay. Some grad student, clearly. Hey, Jim, come over here. I've got a job for you. Yeah, exactly. Kitty Cats, I've got myself a funny cheese challenge to make all the cheeses said or written in Wallace and Gromit. Well, that is a pretty good challenge. Actually, one of the challenges I picked up lately when I bought Deborah Amron's Boyle 200 easy cheese making recipes was to do a bit of a, I don't know if you've seen that movie, Julia and Julia. It's where that young lass, I think it's Amy Adams, plays the character, where she writes a blog and she tries to cook every single recipe in Julia Child's cookbook. So that's kind of what I've been doing. You see a lot of those cheeses coming from that cookbook. I've modified a lot of them because some of them, they don't proofread them, they don't test them, I'm sure of it. But quite a few of the cheeses that I've done over the last year or so have come from that book. I've used other books, of course, but I've been doing a bit of a Julie and Julia sort of thing. So yeah, Wallace and Gromit cheeses, that would be pretty cool. Kitty Cats. Kim, another cheesy fact. Cheese facts, skunks love cheese. It seems that cheddar is their favourite as well. Well, there you go. Maybe stinky animals and stinky cheese. My dogs like cheese. They know as soon as I cut open a block of cheese, or they hear the vac pack go, or they see the wax come off, they're at my feet ready to have a taste test. And you've probably seen some of the videos. I think it was Edam and maybe Jarlsberg, where my two taste testers came up and tried some of the cheese with me. Santiago, when you get around to it, please elaborate on the best cheeses to vac pack without too much care or turning. We expats do have to go on leave sometime. Yeah, look, the harder cheeses are the best. The turning's mainly for fat distribution throughout the cheese, but if it's really low in fat content, or sorry, not, if it's a harder cheese and the fat doesn't move around as much as some of the semi-soft and washed curd cheeses like Edam and Havarti and Jarlsberg and Gouda. Those ones need turning quite often, or they tend to go a bit flat. But the harder cheeses like a good one to vac pack, cheddar, no problems at all. Most of cheddar production these days is vac packed, except the traditional ones that are made in Somerset. And a Parmesan can be vacuum packed because of its long aging. We make such small wheels that they tend to dry out. Romano is another one. Asiago, I would as well. And in fact, I've got the Gruyere that I'm going to do a taste test video on very soon. I should have vac packed that quite a long time ago because it's been infected with mold, and I've been trying to clean it off quite often. It's stinking out the cheese fridge, but it'll be very edible, of course. There's some hints anyway, Santiago. Um, Red Walrus, hello Gavin. It's 3:49 a.m. in Alberta. Hopefully you're doing the night shift and you haven't got insomnia, Red Walrus. Um, Santiago, at the end of the month, I'm back in Spain for 6 weeks. We'll see the house in which no one has entered since mid-March. I left the bar fridge with a temperature control and a whole bunch of cheese in it. I will, I will film opening the door of the fridge. They're all backpacked or in oil. Maybe when I open the door, they will all run away. Hopefully the cheese fridge didn't have any power outages and it went all warm because, as you probably well know, Spain is well known for its heat waves. Anyway, Brendan says he prefers actual physical books. Do you plan on releasing your ebooks as actual books? Yeah, I actually have. The first volume is actually a book. It's self-bound, of course. I haven't gone to a publisher or anything like that because I've got quite a few friends that have published their own books, and the royalties they get is minuscule, really is. And I'm not after the almighty dollar or anything, but I think it's fair is fair. I think they're lucky if they get 5% royalties for every book. Whereas if I bind it myself, which I have, and it's available at the cheese, it's available. Where is it? It's at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. There's a hard copy version that I've made. We bind it, thermal bind it, and ship it out, and it seems to stay intact. It is costly because I don't get to control the whole process, Brendan. Santiago, hey, if you have time, I suppose, Gorgonzola 3 months in a box in a cave, no obvious blue smells. I think it's not ready. Can I vac pack it and see it when it comes home? Yeah, you could look, Santiago, you could try but the problem with blue, if it hasn't been infected, if it hasn't been inoculated with all the blue mold, the Penicillium roqueforti, it needs oxygen, and by you vac packing it, you're starving it of oxygen. That's why most blue cheeses are wrapped in foil, whether that's tin foil or aluminium foil, for aging. So it's up to you. If you vac pack it, it's going to stop the mold growing process. But then you can also start it again by taking it out of the vac pack, wrap it back in tin foil, and go from there. So there's a hint. Hopefully that works. Okay, Kim's got a cheesy fact. Ireland, New Zealand, Netherlands, and Australia export most of their cheese, while countries like France and America eat most of the cheese they produce. Yeah, we are big exporters of those sorts of things. Thanks, Kim. TZ Advantage, another challenge in Thailand is to get cultures. Would it be doable for a hobbyist to grow them for future use? I do that for yogurt, but would not know where to start for cheese cultures. Well, there's just a product for you, TZ Advantage, and that is called kefir grains. They're small, look like little pillows, and they not only contain mesophilic culture, they also contain thermophilic. They also contain strains of Geotrichum candidum. But yeah, they are very good. And also, if you get your hands on buttermilk, I don't know, it's a cultured milk, that has a mesophilic starter culture in, so you can use that as a starter. So there's a couple of hints. There's a good book, and I say this every video. We've actually ordered some for the website. It's by David Asher, and it's called The Art of Natural Cheese Making. You can probably see it. Oh, over there. There it is. Just there, if you can see it in high definition. The Art of Natural Cheese Making. Very good book. Talks about all the ways to make your own cultures. It even shows you how to cultivate Penicillium roqueforti on rye bread. So that's pretty cool. Okay, where am I up to? Kitty cats. I'm switching over to wax. From backpacking to reduce the amount of plastic goes in landfill. Yes, I tend to do that when I wax certain cheeses. But what I do, I actually clean out the bag and reseal it, because I put such a header on it for the vac pack that you can reuse it. And I reuse that plastic at least 2 times to vac pack the halves of cheese that I still keep, that we put in the normal refrigerator, so that doesn't go to waste. Now, it is plastic number 4, so where you can recycle, if you clean the bags out, and where you recycle shopping bags, plastic shopping bags, low density polyethylene, you can also recycle those plastic backpack bags. So there's a hint for you, kitty cats. But well done on using wax. In fact, if you're the same kitty cats that I know, you recently purchased some wax from us. Thank you very much. Where else? You can also reuse the wax. Yep, I have a video about it. Yes, there is. And if Kim wanted to put the video up, that will be fantastic. How to wax cheese. Okay, what are we up to? Santiago, no power outages. Got an alarm system that lets me know. Fixed at 11. We'll film open the door. That would be fantastic, Santiago. Hopefully you can pop that in a Dropbox and share it. That would be most excellent. That'd be pretty cool to have a look at. Kim has, oh, okay, yep, she's ahead of me, one step ahead of me. Robert, how are you? I have a silly question, but why are commercial cheddars a lot firmer than the few I've seen you make? Good question. Don't really know. The cheddars, I've only made 2 or 3 cheddars. They seem kind of firm. I think they are anyway. That must be something special they do in the process. Remember that home cheesemakers have a really small scale. Commercial cheesemakers, the slabs of curds that they're turning over, sorry, I hit the microphone, but they're big. The big slabs of of curds that they're flipping a couple of times an hour. So more wave is going to expel from them. So they're going to have a firmer final structure. And they probably press them more than the 50 pounds of pressure or 22 kilos of pressure that my humble little cheese press can do. They use hydraulic presses, for goodness sake, and would close all of the mechanical holes that you would normally get in a homemade cheddar. So, Robert, hopefully that answers your question. Santiago, thanks for the gorgonzola advice. No problems at all. Kefir, that's the one. Brendan, I don't know if you've tried making kefir cheese. That would be pretty cool. If you did, and let us know. I'm going to try it soon. I've got a friend in Bacchus Marsh, which is not Bacchus Marsh, Balan, not far up the road, that says she's going to give me some kefir grains. Hasn't shown yet though. I'd like to try and make some. Kim has a cheesy fact. 2005 study by British Cheese Board found that eating cheese before bed can help you sleep better, probably due to the tryptophan, that's it, that often causes more vivid dreams. Help you sleep better. My mum used to say that eating cheese before bed gave you nightmares. I don't know. It doesn't give me nightmares, Kim, when we have cheese suppers. Okay. I used to have vivid dreams after eating pizza, but maybe that's just me. Maybe it's the cheese in the pizza. I don't know. Yeah, I'm a cat. Right, kitty cat. Teaser Advantage, thanks for the book, The Art of Natural Cheese Making reference. Are you affiliate? I can see it on Amazon, but are you an affiliate? I would prefer to use that. What I'll do, TZ Advantage, is I will put a link, I do have an Amazon affiliate. I'll put a link to that book using an affiliate link in this video after it goes into archive. So I'll put it in the description of the video. So if you want to click through on that, I'll get a few pennies there. They don't offer too much, but it's something more than nothing, especially for people who are international and it's difficult to get a book with a cheap posting from our shop. I totally understand that. Brendan says he hasn't yet, but he will soon. And Kim and Kitty Cats are having a having a conversation. Oh, must be the waxing. All right, fair enough. Okay, I think we've caught up with the questions. Um, does anybody have any more? We've got 18 people watching, which is fantastic. Oh, I'm losing my voice. Oh, Elton. Hello, Elton. How are you? Great. They have a Kindle version, saves on shipping. Most definitely. In fact, my book's also a Kindle version as well. But I use a DVI, or direct vat inoculated cultures, which you probably wouldn't be able to get there in Thailand. I actually have shipped some cultures to Thailand. They arrived safe and sound, and the person using them reported back and said there were lots of great cheeses that they made with them, and they didn't have any issues once they put them back in the freezer to store them for long term. Kim has another cheesy fact. If you don't wrap them correctly, mouldy cheese like Gorgonzola and Brie have surface and internal molds that can spread to everything else in your refrigerator. Well, don't we know that? Because that happens quite often if you don't wrap your cheese properly. Now, I tend to wrap add cheese. Well, I store the cheese in the fridge in backpack so it doesn't get infected by other molds. But if we've got a hard cheese that we want to store, don't wrap it in cling wrap. Wrap it in either thick, what's it called, freezer paper, or here in Australia, I think it's called grease-proof paper. It's a thinner version. That seems to work well. Keeps the moisture locked in, but lets it breathe, and it ages well. Thanks, Elton. He loves my videos. It's so satisfying. Have you made cheese yourself, Elton? Is a question for you. Brendan has asked, stated, I'm going to get some kefir grains from another cheesemaker. I'm friends, he lives in Victoria. I'm going to visit him soon and learn some techniques from him and get some grains. That's fantastic, Brendan. I'm going to try and, I know I'm just a kid. Well, give it a go. My son, he first learnt how to make cheese. I think he was about 15. No, younger than that. 14. I taught him how to make cheese on my birthday one day. We made some queso fresco, which was absolutely delicious because he saw the fruits of his labour after 6 hours of simple sort of work. So, Kim, if you got the queso fresco video there, and just check it out, and Elton can probably make it. It's very simple cheese to make. You only need rennet and a starter culture, aromatic mesophilic, and very easy to make that cheese. And Kim's got she's got a cheesy fact. Giant wheel of cheddar cheese was presented to Queen Victoria in England as a wedding gift back in 1840. It weighed over 1,000 pounds. What's that? Nearly 500 kilos. On average, cheddar just weighs 60 to 75 pounds, or 30 kilos roughly. That is amazing. Actually, that reminds me of a very funny episode of Z Nation. I don't know if anybody's into the zombie genre, but I do remember them going through Wisconsin and getting chased by a cheese wheel with zombies all stuck to it. It was quite funny. If you're into cheese and into zombies, then it was a pretty good opera. It was called Z Nation, a very funny version of The Walking Dead. Anyway, Paul says, me and my girlfriend love your videos. Still not making cheese, but we plan to someday. You stream the whole process of making cheese live. Greetings from Poland. No, actually, I don't stream the cheese making because it takes hours, and I think YouTube has a limit of 4 hours. Then you got to restart the stream again or something. But yeah, it'd be pretty boring to watch. So I do film the cheese videos and basically condense them down and put in titles on what I'm doing for each one. Do a commentary over the top. and the cheeses are pretty good. So go and check out some of those ones, um, Paul, on my channel. Check it out. Kim has another cheesy fact. In 1901, Scott of the Antarctic took 3,500 pounds of cheddar, made in cheddar itself, on his famous expedition. Well, that didn't help him very much, did it? Poor bugger. And all his team. What cheeses do you have coming out soon, says Santiago? As in tasting or making? Making, I've got so many suggestions from all you good people. I'm going to see if I can make raclette. There is another cheese called scamorza, which is it's a pasta filata cheese. So I'm going to try that. There is a Colby cheese that's aged in some special manner, which I have to do a bit more research, called Passchendaele. I want to redo my Parmesan video because it was when I first started. It was the second cheese making video I ever made, and I wasn't very good at it, at cheese making or video making at the same time. So I'm going to remake Parmesan. Tasting. Oh, sorry, I just should have read your comment. Taste videos. Yes, we've got some Gruyere coming up. We've got Piora that's coming up. I also made a very dubious style provolone. So the little provolone, I think that's probably nearly ready. It's going quite hard. I don't want it to go too hard, so we'll be trying that as well. So there's some of the cheese making taste test videos that are coming up very soon. I've also got another provolone, my second try, that I made with a yogurt culture for the thermophilic. Didn't go as well as I wanted it to. It stretched and stuff, but it wouldn't form the shapes I wanted it to. So I ended up putting into a mold, putting it in very hot water so it formed a shape, and then I vacuum packed it. And Kim and I tasted it after about the second day, and it tasted quite nice. So I'm maturing that in the cheese cave for 2 months, and we'll see what happens. And if it's okay, then I'll release the video on how I made it. Okay, Colby's my frustration. Off taste 3 times. Never had that problem with Colby. Maybe it's because I know it's a washed rind cheese. Maybe it's something to do with the water. I'm not too sure. But usually, if you use too much rennet, it actually has a bittering effect if you use too much rennet in your cheese as well. Okay, Super Neffy says, how do I know when my blue cheeses are overripe? Does the smell change or the colour? Yeah, if they're too moist, they tend to overripen, and you'll start seeing signs of orange or red mold forming on the surface, and it starts to get very, very on the nose. They do change colour from the blue-green Penicillium roquefort 40 to start getting a surface mold of orange. Then you know they're overripe. And they start to go soggy, or not soggy, what's the word I'm looking for? Squishy is a good way. You know, a good blue cheese should be fairly firm, and have the same colour paste throughout, and the veins should be either blue or blue-green, depends on the strain of Penicillium roquefort 40 you're using. Adam says, what do you think is a good order to make different types of cheese? Fresh cheeses first because they're easy, but then what styles should a newbie tackle next? One of the best hard or semi-hard cheeses that is very simple to make, that does need a press, and you're actually using some cheddaring sort of process as well, is Caerphilly. And I probably said this quite a few times, and those who have been on the chat a few times, they probably would know that Caerphilly was one of my very favourite cheeses when I first started making cheese making, because it only takes 3 weeks to mature. It's a very salty cheese, has a very soft paste, but a hard rind, because you mature it naturally without waxing or vac packing for 3 weeks. and the rind tends to harden up. You salt the rind a fair bit during the pressing process, so very cool. Kim's got another cheesy fact. She says, before the First World War, more than 3,500 cheese producers were in Britain. Fewer than 100 remain after the Second World War. Yes, indeed. I think I covered that before, but yeah, that's the state of it, unfortunately. And that was due to wartime regulations. Anyway, so back to the questions. Kitty Cats, my niece recently tried sheep's cheese. Have you had any? FYI, she loves it. Yeah, it's very rich. Real fetters are made with 70% sheep's milk and 30% goat's milk, so it's a very rich cheese as well. But yeah, normal sheep's cheese is delightful. It has a totally different taste than goat's milk cheese and cow's milk cheese. In fact, one of my favourites is Manchego, which is made fully by using sheep's milk, the Manchego sheep of all things. Big in Spain, but yeah, sheep's milk cheeses are big in Spain and France. Very delicious. Brendan said, I've successfully made Parmesan by watching your video. I still think you're being a bit hard on yourself. Thanks, mate. It did go a bit slimy in the brine because I didn't have a balanced pH. It's probably the only thing that I was worried about. Plus, I naturally aged it, and it was such a small wheel. I think I used 8 litres of milk. I'd probably use 12 now, if not more, to get a bigger wheel, especially when you're using skim milk. So, yeah, all right. I was being a bit hard on myself, Brendan, but thank you anyway. What have we got here? CYB. Hi, Gavin. Thanks for your videos. Enjoy watching them. Thank you very much for watching them, CY. And Anastasia, I think you're on this morning show. If I make a double measure of any cheese, should I press the pressure in the press, too many press words there, to increase to double or remain the same? The pressure will remain the same. It doesn't matter what size the cheese is. So you shouldn't have too many troubles. If you're making a harder cheese, try and press it as hard as you can without breaking your press, of course. But most of them have stop gaps, so you can't press them too hard anyway. I agree with you, Brendan. Kafili is very lovely. And Boogaloo Jones, love your work, man. Cheese is awesome, and thank you for your videos. And thank you. And that's such a cool handle, Boogaloo Jones. It reminds me of Jungle Book, but that was Baloo. It was different. Kim, cheesy fact. People once believed the proverb that the moon is made of green cheese. Funny you should say that. That's where I got the name for my blog down there, littlegreencheese.com. I thought this is to put two and two together, that the moon was made of green cheese. So I put something along that line, that theme. So I got the domain name, and the rest is history. Where are we? Brenda says, yes, my first one dried out, now wax it. Yes, I wax mine too, Brenda, the Parmesan, when I make them. I don't tend to vac pack them because I feel that the wax allows it to dry out just a little bit, because you don't want too moist a Parmesan. It needs to have that dry, crumbly sort of texture when it's fully mature. Santiago, just to let you know, the 24th for dinner, I'm at the best, if not one of the best, real Manchego creameries. I tell you what, you're living the life, Santiago. Not living in Hong Kong, going back to Spain, eating Manchego for real. Tell you what, I want your job. Okay, DOC top class. I bet it is. Okay, TZ advantage. If the milk does not contain enough fat, can you add some full cream, whipping cream or other? And is there a way to check the fat content? I don't tend to add a lot of cream. The only cheese I add cream to is Stilton. And I'm yet to perfect a brie, so I haven't quite got down there. I know Brendan, who's on the chat there, has made brie, double brie successfully many times. I just haven't got around to it yet. But yeah, if you don't think it's got enough, look, I'd put in 100 mils of cream just to per 10 litres, to add a bit more fat into the cream, but make sure it's fairly runny, fairly liquidy. You don't want hard cream and have to whisk that in. It's such a pain. Kim has a cheesy fact. The world's most expensive cheese comes from a Swedish moose farm, and the cheese sells for £300 a pound, which would be like nearly, what's that, $600 per 500 grams. That's crazy. Who'd pay for that? Anyway, hopefully the Swedish moose or moosette doesn't have too many issues when they milk it. Anastasia, I noticed that my cheese in the fridge was quickly dried up, and after lubricated with oil, what can I do? Ivanka, greeting from Serbia. My cheese in the fridge was quickly drying up. Do you have it in are you talking in the cheese fridge, or how are you maturing the cheese? Is my question to you. Santiago, the wine in the is a bit on the heavy side, like Australian wine, not quite there. Area. Oh, in the area. Oh, it'd be nice. It'd be like a Shiraz, really heavy red. Brendan adds 600 mils of whipping cream to 4 litres. Brendan, does that give you a double or a triple brie? What do you think that compares to as far as commercial bries go? And Elton, what is the hardest cheese you've made? Is that the most difficult, or the most hardest in not shape, but the hardest type of cheese, like you could knock on it like wood? Gives you a double brie 4 wheels. Fantastic, Brendan. I'm going to try that, because my brie, the one I made a big wheel, so it's like a half size brie, proper size, just broke in half because it didn't have enough structure. The most difficult, says Elton. The first provolone I made was the most difficult, and it took a long, long time. I think I started at 10 o'clock in the morning and finished at 1 o'clock in the morning the next day. So that's how long it took, and it was a pain, and I just wasn't confident about making it. The second hardest cheese to make was Wensleydale, which takes 9 hours from milk to mould. So it's a pain in the bottom, but it tastes amazing. Wallace and Gromit were right. Wensleydale is a fantastic cheese. Kim, Edam was used as cannonballs, killed 2 soldiers in a battle between Montevideo and Buenos Aires in 1841. Very interesting. I would never have thought of cheese as a weapon. Very decadent. Are you talking about your brie? Yes. I reckon it will be very, very lovely. Santiago, for followers, if you think it is worthy, world's most expensive cheese comes from my kitchen. For 9 litres of fresh milk, it comes to $50 US. So taking into account my hours and spoiled, add the math. That would be very expensive. $50. I don't know where you get it from. Must have to come from the mainland. What a waste of good cheese. Yes, probably very good Edam too. Kitty Cat said, I've just made Wensleydale. Yes, it's a marathon to make. It certainly is, but it will be, Kim, come on, settle down. I think that some of your cheese in your fridge could be used as a weapon. Yeah, biological weapon, I reckon. Some of the smell coming off that Gruyere at the moment. I know it's not supposed to smell quite like that, but we'll see during the taste test once I clean it up, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. My wife, she's very funny. Yes, it is smelly, I know. Every time I open the cheese fridge, it's smelly. But yeah, it happens. It happens. Cheese makers, what can I say? Kim, stop it. So we're at the 55-minute mark. So we've got 5 minutes to go, Curd Nerds. So if you've got, Kim, stop it with the emojis. if you've got any more questions, then last couple of minutes. But what I'll go is through some housekeeping. If you want to support the channel, there's a couple of ways that you can do it. People always ask, and that is that I have a Patreon page that if you want to pledge your support, then you can pledge as little as $1, and Kim will pop that link up in a second. Another way is that I have a merch store, and soon to have an Amazon affiliate link. And thanks to TZ Advantage, we'll put that in there, to a couple of the books that I recommend for those who live overseas and can't afford the shipping, because sometimes the shipping is more than the price of the products in our shop. Yeah, very interesting. That's a good joke, Brendan. It's better than the joke, did somebody open their lunchbox? We used to say that when I was in high school, but that's different. And another way to pledge your to support the channel is to check out my ebooks called Keep Calm and Make Cheese, A Beginner's Guide to Cheese Making Home. You can get it at littlegreencheese.com, and also at littlegreenworkshops.com.au, where you can also find all of our cheese making equipment, like the kits over there that we've got at the back there. They're only 2 out of 19 of the cheese kits that we have online. We have quite a large range from different suppliers. We don't prefer one supplier or the other. I get them, I test them, and we know that they work. So that's why I stock them in our shop. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. Don't forget, if you want to do a single off donation, there's Super Chat, which is down there, little $sign, little as $2, and that most of the proceeds of that go to me and not to YouTube. So if nobody has any other questions, I will call it a night. And thanks for all the links there, Kim. I appreciate it. Don't forget to click on them and bookmark them now, because the chat will disappear after the live show has finished, and it'll go back to the normal YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. Really appreciate spending time with you, and it's been a lot of fun. See you later, and I'll sign off. But just remember this, don't forget to keep calm and make cheese. Well, g'day, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds.